Hey everybody, this is Mike from New England Mindfulness and Performance. Today I want to talk to you about positivity and practicing positivity, mindfulness, and what it really is, and how it comes in handy when you do want to change your ways and practice positivity, and you're finding out your use of strengths. Okay, but first, like everything we do before we start a class or before we start training, we're gonna get centered, right? And we're gonna use our breath as a grounding technique. So just give a few minutes. You just sit upright, right, but not rigid. You can close your eyes. You can do a soft gaze downward, and you're gonna take 3 deep breaths in through the nose. You're gonna hold for 4 seconds and do a long exhale out. You can do that 3 times before you return to normal breathing. So go ahead and do that with me. Return to normal breathing. Try to clear your mind. If your mind wanders, that's perfectly normal. That's what the mind does. Once you notice your mind wandering, you're practicing mindfulness. You already recognized it and you brought it back to the breathing. When you do meditation, you find out the mind wanders. I don't want you to get frustrated. Again, it's normal. And think about it as building a repetition, like a repetition in the gym. You're strengthening that connection every time you recognize your mind is wandering. As you sit there quiet, you follow the breath in through the nose. Picture yourself following the breath into the belly, your chest rising. And with the exhale, you're letting all that negativity out. You inhale the positivity down into your body, into your belly, and exhale all the negativity. Trying to clear our mind. If the mind keeps coming, if the thought keeps coming back, let it play out. No judgment, no intention. All right. When you're ready, I want you to take 3 deep breaths in through the nose, hold for 4 seconds, and do a long exhale out. It's the exhale that really relaxes the body, not the inhale. Return to normal breathing. Just come back whenever you're ready. So speaking of positivity, so we can develop the capacity to be present to the good that exists in each moment. In the same way that interoceptive awareness, focused attention, and self-regulation are. It may have taken you, weeks of practicing, meditation and body scans to actually feel the sensations, and hopefully you are practicing. But it can happen. So similar to the practice of positivity, a dimension of reality already includes conditions, worthy of gratitude. There's always something we can be grateful for, right? You just haven't experienced it in its fullness, right? You may have said, "Oh, I'm grateful for that," but have you really thought about it? And really, what does that really feel like? Being grateful for something and showing gratitude. So just consider the vast amount of ordinary gifts that already exist in the moment, right here, right now. What gifts can we think of? Can we rattle off right now? We can rattle off a bunch of problems, but how come we can't rattle off a bunch of gifts? All right, so name a few that come to your mind. All right, and just think about what's worthy of gratitude. Can you list 5 right now, right off the bat? All right, and do this practice, right? Do this practice every single day, and you'll change your neural pathways to actually start being more grateful. So with all the natural goodness around us, why aren't we already naturally positive? Right? Why do we have to make this an intentional practice? And there's a reason that we're going to get into. So when we talk about practicing positivity, we have to talk about a negativity bias. All right, so according to evolutionary psychology, human beings inherited a negativity bias. That's kind of how they stayed alive back then, from our caveman ancestors, paying more attention to negative experiences and information compared with positive. You can and I'm sure you can think of plenty of examples in your own life where this is true. Like I said, we always want to focus on the negative because that's what we're used to, but we have to make it a conscious effort to focus on the positive. Maybe we look at our body in the mirror, right? What are the first things we see? We probably see some negative stuff, right? From our own perception. Others, hopefully not. You probably don't automatically feel overwhelmingly appreciative, in awe over the synchronization of your body. Many complex biological systems, we don't think like that. We think, maybe I'm getting a little weight, maybe I'm getting old, I got a little more gray in my beard. Oh no. That's what we think of, right? We think about the negative stuff. Instead, you notice, again, the negative stuff, or maybe you gain an extra few pounds. We hear that inner critical coach talking, being negative about us. Remember, we talked about that before. And like I said, the brain is like, Rick Hansen, he's a neuroscientist. He says the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences, but Teflon for positive ones. Right? Think about that. So it makes evolutionary sense because long ago humans needed to prioritize negative information to survive. Right? Here's an example that's been often used. If you ignore signs of kindness of your neighbor, you lose a friend. That sucks, but okay, you lose a friend. If you ignore signs of an ambushing tiger or an oncoming car, you may lose your life, right? Nature has developed our minds in such a way that it pays more attention to the metaphorical stick than the carrot, punishment over reward. This negativity bias comes from a part of our brain called the amygdala, right? Which is part of the default mode network. It's a lot of sciencey stuff, but it's important that you guys understand how this works and why it works. This part of the brain uses 2/3 of its neuronal power to search for bad news. The amygdala is primed to find the negative. That's like its job, find the negative. Right? Again, because that's biologically from our ancestors, that's how they stayed alive, find the negative, right? Once it does, the fight or flight alarm goes off, right? And the adverse event is immediately stored in the memory. That fight or flight is something that happens to all of us, which is why we always want to practice mindfulness, because what it does is it builds our prefrontal cortex connection to take over from the limbic system, right, which is the emotional brain, which is the fight or flight. So that's why it's important that we practice this, so we can think more rationally during times of stress and trauma. To store a positive memory, however, research suggests that you need to hold the feeling for more than a dozen seconds. Therefore, people tend to blow negative information in events out of proportion and minimize or even forget positive events. Right? And think about that. Let that sit with you. Right? We can all think about some our bad days, and we can rattle them off probably in detail, or at least the details that we think they are, because, again, those aren't true either, but that's a different video. We can think about that stuff and all the negative experiences, but how often can we name the positive experiences? We can think of the bad stuff that happened today. Right? We know when Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks got the coffee wrong, right? We notice when we're sitting in traffic and late for work. But can we recall the times when it was a nice driving to work, listening to your favorite music or your favorite station, or Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks got your coffee perfect, tastes so good, and we savor the moment? No, right? We think could be because we're trained to think about the negative stuff. Science shows that with patience, with practice, we can train our brain to improve our outlook, attitude, and intentionally create a brighter experience. Broaden and build, right? The theory suggests that people need to experience a ratio of anywhere between 3-to-1 and 6-to-1 positive to negative emotions to thrive. Right? That's the science behind it. That's awful, but that's the science behind it, and that's what we need to experience. And where mindfulness comes into play is we're able to recognize the positive experience, right? And if we're not practicing mindfulness and we're not aware of our interoceptive awareness, what's happening inside the inner landscape, we don't recognize when we feel positivity, we're not gonna be able to hold it, right, and savor it for 12 seconds, 13 seconds. These moments are gonna pass us by. So there's no way that we can do the 3-to-1 or 6-to-1. So that's why it's so important that we do this practice, so that we're aware of all emotions that come. Positivity, joy, anger, frustration, sadness, anxiety. Like, if we're not aware of this stuff, then it's going to become overwhelming. And all the good stuff, the positivity, the gratitude, it's just going to go right by us, and we're not going to be able to really enjoy it. So that's why it's important that we're in the here and the now, and recognizing what each emotion feels like. That's why when I teach my mindfulness courses, first thing I say right off the bat is from here on in, the rest of the day, the rest of this retreat, what I'm going to do and ask you, and all your journaling and every question I ask you is about building your interoceptive awareness, right? And connecting your emotional brain with what's happening physiologically, right? I want to connect the emotion with what does that feel like inside? I'm sad. Well, what does sad feel like? My muscles were, kind of tense, I guess, and my chest was tense, and my heart rate was going, a little faster. Okay, nice. Now we know what that feels like, and if we keep reminding ourselves of this stuff, it's gonna click, and it's gonna become habit. And then when it starts to happen, we're gonna recognize it. Oh, here comes that sad feeling. Here comes that anger feeling. I know what it's like when I get angry. My PTSD kicks in. There's gonna be an outburst. I better slow down, take some breaths, relax. And again, that's why we practice it. But let's not get too much off topic, huh? So mindfulness can help us notice the positive moments that typically fly under the radar, such as the completion of a project, a good training session, fun conversation with a friend, anything fun that's really positive, that really brings you joy. When we intentionally notice and pause to savor or memorize these moments, we're practicing taking the good, which rewires our brain for more positivity. The positive brain training will be practiced, and that's what we're going to cover now, with intentional gratitude and the use of natural character strengths, right? So another thing we're going to talk about it right about now is we're going to find out our strengths, and it's important that we recognize our strengths, right? Because when we recognize them, well, then that's how we do performance enhancement. Right, when we recognize when our strengths are here and what our strengths are and how we can capitalize off of them. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So the teaching points. So the Center for Applied Positive Psychology defines strengths as our pre-existing patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior that are authentic, energizing, and which lead to our best performance. All right, what is meant by authentic is that the strength feels like the real you. Right, this isn't fraud. This isn't you teaching something that you know nothing about, but you have the perfect script and now you're doing good. No, this is you doing something that you're so good at that comes natural. You're in flow. Being in flow is the same as being in the zone. So what is meant by authentic is the real you, right? That there are intrinsic qualities that come naturally to you, that you enjoy using, and that are often related to the sense of purpose. Strengths are energizing, creating a sense of aliveness and excitement. Right? People use their strengths tend to be more communicative and animated and enthusiastic, right? Like I said, we know we all must have had instructors or coaches or bosses who are definitely out of their element, and it shows, doesn't it? So, but you also have those same coaches, bosses, instructors that are very good at what they do, and it shows, right? It shows their passion, it shows how enthusiastic they are, and that's contagious, right? So this is what this is talking about. So using your strengths is associated with the long list of well-researched benefits, including better performance and greater well-being. Utilizing your unique strengths enhances well-being because you're doing what you naturally do best, which helps generate feelings of autonomy, competence, confidence, and self-esteem. Right? Performance is enhanced because using strengths encourages the experiences of flow rather than struggling up river against the currents of your natural capacities. Right? If it comes naturally to you, it's gonna show. It's gonna shine through. Right? And the more we practice something, right, is the more it is going to be natural to us. But it's really based on what value do we assign this task, right? No matter how qualified we are, what value do we assign that task? And because that value is going to dictate whether we actually care, if we do that task correctly or not, or if we give it our full effort. So learning how to leverage your character strengths can directly support your mindfulness practice by energizing your meditations and helping you creatively overcome obstacles to practicing. Using our strengths can enhance mindfulness, but mindfulness can also help you better leverage your strengths in life, work, or sport. Mindfulness will help you become aware of what your top strengths are, as well as how and when to best use them for the most significant impact on your performance and well-being. So we go over strength spotting, right? So we think about our strengths, and there's a long list of strengths. Obviously, we all have different ones, and some of us are better at them than others. But when we do strength spotting, it's kind of recognizing, when we just used it, or when it's coming, or why we would use it, What is the environment that's happening that brought this strength on where I'm using it right now? So strength spotting is the name of the practice of purposely bringing mindful attention to strengths that are working well in either your performance or others around you. Strength spotting can be a powerful practice for counteracting the evolutionary inherited negativity bias and cultivating the ability to witness what is good and wholesome in yourself and in others rather than what is annoying, insufficient, or defective. Once your strengths have been identified, the next step is to intentionally become aware of when and where you'll naturally using them and observing the impact they have on your attitude and your energy. And the best way to do this, like I said, your mindfulness practice is going to let you recognize when this is happening. But then what I would encourage you to do is actually journaling. I would actually ask you to write it down. When I was doing this event, I noticed my strengths of patience, discipline, courageous, whatever your strengths are. This strength came and I used it in this scenario. And you're going to find patterns. Now we know that if our strengths are being utilized, so let's say I'm an instructor. I'm a defensive tactics instructor, right? So if my strengths are being utilized, if I notice that they're here when I'm teaching defensive tactics, well, then I write that down. And now I know there's a pattern that this always comes up when I'm ready to teach a class. Okay, so now I know how that class is going to go. I know what to prepare for. I know what to expect, right? Because I've been keeping a journal. I've been keeping a pattern of it. And I feel that coming on, right? Just like I feel the anxiety coming on. But again, that's where mindfulness comes in, is you're able to recognize when that strength is here right now, and being worked by you, just like you notice any emotions coming through. So in these moments, pause and ask yourself what strength you're currently using. Mentally note the strength and continue taking in the good of what you're doing. Right? We can't do that, though, if we're not practicing interoceptive awareness. If we're not practicing mindfulness and being present in the moment, we can't do that. All right, so that's why this all goes together. The breathing, the being present, the interoceptive awareness, the inner landscape, all of this goes together with recognizing the emotions of what's happening in strength spotting, right? Recognize what skill you're using right now, right? What strength you're using right now. So by practicing this regularly, you can learn how to recreate similar conditions, giving yourself more opportunities to peak performance and flow, right? Because we know what conditions bring on these strengths. So we're able to kind of replicate that in other scenarios. Strength spotting for others is a practice referred to in the mindfulness tradition as sympathetic joy. Right? Strength researcher Alex Lindley, he says that when we are practicing strength spotting with our coworkers, teammates, or family, we attempt to name or label what is about a person that shines, what it is about a person that shines. Sometimes this can happen either in conversation with someone or while observing the way people interact from a distance. It requires us to take a sincere and non-judgmental look at the people around us and ask the questions of ourselves. What is the person doing well? Right? That's observing somebody in a distance, and what are they doing well that's making them so good? What's making them shine? What's standing out about that person? What are they doing so well? By intentionally feeling this sympathetic joy for others being their best, we increase our odds of positivity by many people we encounter each day. All right, so what that's really saying is when we recognize that somebody is doing a good job at something, maybe you have a good instructor, maybe you have an awesome virtual mindfulness coach. You recognize when they're doing good work and when they're doing such a great job, but you tell them, first of all, it would be a great thing, but also you just absorb what they're doing so great right now, right? You kind of analyzing and studying them. And so then that's also going to help you find strengths, and that's more strength spotting. So that's all kind of what comes into play. There's also to add positivity, we can also do show gratitude. Gratitude is a great way to show positivity and to build our positivity, right? So it's another well-researched positivity practice. It's gratitude. I don't think enough of us really do it, at least not do it out loud. When I ask people what are they grateful for, they struggle to find something, and when they do, it's always something dramatic, which is great. But be grateful that your coffee was made right today. Be grateful, that the cable is still working, right? Be grateful, whatever. It could be something small too. As long as we practice it, though, at least, and especially 21 days straight, that's what makes a habit. Well, then that increases our positivity. People who are consistently grateful are relatively happier, more energetic, and more hopeful. And to report experiencing more frequent positive emotions. They also tend to be more helpful and empathetic, more spiritual and religious, more forgiving, and less materialistic than others who are less grateful. The more a person is inclined to, to show gratitude, the less likely he or she is to be depressed, anxious, lonely, envious, or neurotic. The practice of gratitude sharpens your attention for the good and the positive in life, which helps you appreciate things that you'd otherwise take for granted. All right, when we practice mindfulness, we're slowing things down, right? We're living in the moment, and we're able to kind of recognize what we're truly grateful for, right? And again, we're not taking it for granted. We're going to recognize it, and it's going to make us feel better. Gratitude is profound to well-being, right? Research has shown that by merely writing and delivering a thank you letter to someone is going to do a big deal, right? It's going to express why you're grateful. It's going to have a positive impact on your life. It's going to increase level of well-being appeared, even for a few months. Just by doing an act of gratitude today, it's going to stick with you for a couple months. This is what research states. So what happened was when participants, they hooked them up to they did a study, right? Participants, and they hooked them up to an MRI machine, and they reported feelings of gratitude. Their brains showed activity in a set of regions located in the medial prefrontal cortex, right? The thinking part of the brain. This area of the brain is associated with understanding and other people's perspectives, empathy, and feelings of relief. Also, this area of the brain connects to the systems that regulate emotions, supporting the process of stress relief. All right, we're almost done here, but so just to kind of summarize what we've been talking about is we practice mindfulness, right, to be centered and to be in the here and the now, right? We recognize when we're experiencing positivity. Right? It's important that we recognize that so that we can actually absorb that, because like I just read, we have to it's the 3-to-1 or 6-to-1 ratio. But if we don't practice mindfulness and we don't recognize that positive moment, it goes away. And we have to hold that positive moment, right, for about 12 seconds. And if we thought about it, 12 seconds is kind of a long time. When do you stop for 12 seconds? And if we're not recognizing that we're in a positive moment, or we just experience positivity, it goes by us. The negativity will stick right away. Instantly sticks, right? Because we have that negativity bias from our ancestors, thank them. And then, so that's why it's important that we stop and take that minute to actually savor the moment, right? And then with that, we talked about strength spotting, right? When we practice mindfulness, we're in the moment, and whenever we notice our strengths being used, right, when we're in the flow, when we're in the zone, we have to recognize what strengths are being used right now. And we should write it down. Like I said, I encourage journaling. Journaling is awesome. It's a healthy thing to do. It's a great way to get everything down there on paper. And then you can start seeing like trends, And then we recognize, well, what brought these strengths on? What am I doing right now that brought strengths on? What am I feeling? All right. And then now, once we get that down and we see the trends, well, now we can kind of replicate that, right, in future scenarios, especially if we're having a bad day or something. All right, what happened that really made me use these strengths? What happened that brought out this positivity? And then after that, we just finished up with gratitude, right? Gratitude is another great way to increase your positivity. And actually saying something that you're grateful for, but like saying it out loud or writing it down, right? With New England Mindfulness and Performance, I have a Teams app that participants go on, and they just say whatever they're grateful for. It could be something dumb, or it could be something big, right? And it helps them get that out in the open. It helps them build that practice. And they've been doing it for the past year now, so it's helpful. I do it. I love it. And it's just to get that out there, or write it down on paper, however you want to do it. But get it out verbally or write it on paper. Do that 21 days straight, and you're going to create a great habit. Right, and that's what's going to increase your positivity, increase your mood. You're going to be in a better mood, and you're going to be a lot healthier. Right, you're going to practice mindfulness also, and by having this positive attitude, it's going to reduce your cortisol levels a lot. Cortisol is something that's, yes, we need it, but when we have cortisol spike throughout the day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, that's what brings on a lot of serious health problems, right? And so that's what we have to kind of get away from. So there's a lot of benefits to practicing mindfulness. And again, it's a game changer for me, all right, especially with my previous military, my PTSD, and just stuff, just just regular human stuff. So it's a game changer for me, and I swear by it. And yeah, so this episode was talking about positivity, right, and gratitude, and finding our strengths. This is Mike from New England Mindfulness and Performance, and please like and subscribe and comment too if you want. Let's have the discussion, all right? All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.